We're going to go to our next guest, Jay Hamilton, in the studio also, founder, CEO, Presage. Am I pronouncing that right?
Presage.
Presage Solutions. All right, Jay, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mike. I began in this industry back in 1989. I started off as a programmer, analyst, and then grew from there up to a network administrator, and then to a CIO of IT for a large pharmaceutical company. I spent the first 11 years in my business or in my industry in pharmaceuticals as a director of IT, and then in the year 2000, I left the company and started Presage Solutions for the purpose of being the IT for small businesses. The one thing we found when we were growing our company is that we couldn't concentrate on IT, we had to concentrate on the business side. So we kept building these silos of pieces of infrastructure and databases and all these other things. So I started Presage Solutions for the purpose for small businesses, so that small businesses can concentrate on their business, and then we can build the solutions for them and be a partner in their success.
Okay, break that down. How do you do it? What do you do first, and then how tell me about some success stories.
Well, one of our first success stories is Mucinex.
Okay.
Okay. So the company, Adams Respiratory Therapeutics at the time, hired us to manage their IT. Inside of that, we had the pharmaceutical experience to go in and do the validation on all the systems. So we were part of that team that developed the Mucinex. Although we didn't get into the product delivery side, we got into the validation of the manufacturing and packaging and lab systems. And so we actually celebrate that success. Another part of our success is most recently a company called ZS Pharma that produced a product that has an NDA on it that AstraZeneca just recently bought for $2 billion. Well, they brought us in on the early part of their IT so that we could build all these systems so they didn't get into these siloed environments. Plus, we also understood the regulatory requirements. You can't just go in and plug in systems and unplug systems in the life sciences world.
Right. Okay. Get me into more about how you help these smaller companies succeed with your level of expertise, what you do with the IT to help them grow the startups.
Well, I guess our core competencies is that we like to go in and say we're your virtual CIO. We start there. Then we also we look at your operations and your business and want to see if we want to build a private cloud or a hybrid solution or a public cloud, or is it a combination of the three? In many instances, it's a combination of it. Some on site, some off site, some as a SaaS solution. All right, and then we also build solutions too.
Okay, give me some success stories. I want to hear this. You said Mucinex, but was one of them. But
yes,
there's a variety of them, I'm sure.
Yeah, there is. So, and other success stories, and I didn't receive the permission of my clients to tell you who they are.
Yeah.
So, we have a client of ours that had sold their business, actually merged with a company out of Colorado 10 years ago. That merger didn't go well. They wanted to come back, but what they decided, they didn't want to be in the business of IT. So we have a data center in downtown Dallas that we co-locate a lot of our equipment in. So they decided that, we want to be in your data center. We don't want to be in the business of IT. That company has now 12 different branches across the state of Texas and Oklahoma that they can expand or contract very quickly. Recently, they had 3 or 4 of those branches down in Houston that were flooded out. And because of that, they didn't have to worry about where their IT was. They could actually relocate to another facility and bring their systems up. Okay. Another one, it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Last year there was a tornado went through, knocked out the building. Their business kept running. The other branches didn't have to suffer from it because we still had them in our centralized co-location, plus a hybrid solution there. We have a number of those. We have small companies that start off very small that have 4 or 5 people in it. They want to ramp up and grow, and they'll grow from 4 to 5 to 25 to 50, and yet they start building these silos of pieces of information. We go in, and recently with another pharma company we went into, and we consolidated all that and brought them into the cloud. They were using old technology like FTPing to their servers in their offices using a VPN connection. They couldn't synchronize the files to people. They were they had multiple offices, multiple people working from home, and it was very hard and uncomfortable for them to work. So we actually built cloud solutions for them seamlessly. They love it now. They're happy.
Tell me about where you think your industry sector is going, because when I talk to a person about a private cloud, versus a public cloud or a hybrid cloud. I'm hearing if you're not in your own private cloud or some form of that, you're really going to get left behind.
Here's what I do know is that this industry is tough. All right, the barrier to entry for me was that I had to have capital to get started back 18 years ago. And when I had to go get my own data center and my own servers and build all that. Now then, people can just go sign up for the cloud anywhere in the world, all right? You can start off, you don't have to be brick and mortar, I think. Like he was saying there, this brick and mortar is going to go away. As a result, the challenges are that how do you mix and match these different cloud solutions, all right? Some companies, like in the pharma industry, there's regulatory controls. They need to have on-site premises and on-site controls. So same thing in the finance. But then you also have the parts where the business wants to have the flexibility. They want people working from home. They want them working from different offices and so forth. So now then is, who do you have that has the vision that can come in there and say, I can pull all these parts and pieces together, seamlessly integrate it, and make it grow for you and make it work for you? That's the challenge that a lot of these small companies are suffering from.
What do you see as the solution? Just somebody that's got more experience in this, or are there's going to be some form of AI that helps make the decision for you? How does that wrap up?
I don't know much about whether artificial intelligence is going to make that leap for you, okay? Because there's so many disparate systems out there that have APIs in them that are published, and you're going to have to take advantage of those APIs and build the integrations through technologies like XML. Or other things like that. So I don't know if the AI will fully control that process for us. We are, and in fact, with the security side of things, I don't think that's going to happen.
All right, let's do this. Let's take a break for now. We'll come back and finish the conversation on the other side, all right?
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back with Jay Hamilton. He is the CEO of Presage Solutions. We'll be right back on the other side of this break. Segment brought to you by Tycom Partners. Welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. All right, we're talking with Jay Hamilton, founder and CEO of Presage Solutions. Jay, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
You know, I didn't ask you the name Presage. What does it stand for?
Foretelling or predictive.
All right, and that's what you do.
And so it's pre-sage, pre-wisdom. Okay? So what we do is we want to build systems that take into consideration that they're scalable and growth out in the future, that we're predictive technologies that are out there that we can actually make sure that we're looking out 3 to 5 years in the future, that when we're putting these things in, that there's a vision for it.
That's a moving target at this stage of the game. Mm-hmm. You know that. Okay. Ed, you had a really good question that you wanted to bring up.
Jay, in the trading world, we would call that proactive versus reactive. I think that's what you're thinking about. The thing that you had me smiling about a second ago when you talk about the type of company you have is there are really 3 things that are very important in looking at a company like this. 1, scalability. 2, redundancy. And 3, obviously the ability to have, I guess for lack of a better term, an advantage over other people who aren't familiar with the process of keeping certain data private. Obviously, we go to the pharma side there too. I think that the one thing that's interesting about your company is you talked about, and I'll tell you my own story. Back in September 11th, we had an issue. I was a trader, and we had an issue in New York where a building fell down. In that building was one of our headquarters with regard to our servers, our traders, and so on. What ultimately happened was we had redundancy across the country at different server sites everywhere, which is what you do, which is I think is really the kind of the catch-all here. I think people should understand is how important it is for people who have, quote unquote, a virtual IT service that keeps them from keeping their data lost in the event of a catastrophe. Can you talk about that?
In what way are you asking keeping them from getting lost?
Well, if people don't have redundancy with regard to multiple data centers, and if they have on-site data, let's say you mentioned Tulsa, you mentioned a couple of different places where you've had issues. Anytime you have that, you have the potential to lose your data and also lose your data center. What you do, what I've seen so far, is you take that and take it out of the hands of the business and put them in a position where they have a much more surety of getting it back if something does happen.
Absolutely. There's 2 points to make there. There's one where you're backing up your data, and then there's the other where you're distributing your data. Okay, the first point is a lot of people think that they're backing their data up to a disk drive or a USB drive, that they're backing their data up. Well, if that building gets hit or flooded and that drive is sitting inside the building or the office, it's gone. All right. The technologies today are that there's 2 things: you back it up locally and then you replicate that to the cloud. okay, to cloud storage, and we've had to do that a lot. Secondly is that, yes, you do, for example, you go to Microsoft Office 365. That's a big email provider, all right? They have email servers all across the world. Companies should not be in the business of email anymore. They should be running their email out in the cloud, okay? Same thing with SharePoint. There's a lot of other technologies I can reach. But, yeah, that's where if the West Coast goes down, the East Coast is still running and in between. And you also don't want to store your data in the same area where, like we're in Dallas, where we replicate our data to other data centers. Okay, so if something were to happen to the Dallas one, then we won't lose data.
In the industry, we call it redundancy. We had redundant server systems in both Cincinnati and also in Utah, in addition to New York and some other places too. So it was important to be able to access in real time or have real time access to our trading systems on a global basis, regardless of where we were. And I think that's what was the point I was trying to make.
Let me jump in here. You do more than long-term care and the pharma industry. Give us an idea of the industries that you do work with and how you help them in the acquisition process.
Well, we work in the manufacturing, distribution, life sciences, long-term care, oil and gas, and material handling. Okay. Can you repeat your question there?
Sure. How do you help the variety of companies you work with in their acquisition process?
Okay. The way we can help them is that when you're not in the business of IT and you've led it that's our business, and we have it in a co-location center or in the cloud. If you were to acquire or divest yourself of any businesses, you can plug them in or unplug them without having to take down or worry about where that data is going to sit or how you're going to move it from one office or one branch or one building to another.
From my understanding, and I'm believe me, I'm a little tech-tarded in this subject, but from my understanding, some people have the misconception that it's just a flick of a switch, and boom, you've gone from out of the cloud to in the cloud, and that's not the case.
That's not true at all.
Yeah,
there's a significant migration effort to get from on-premise to in the cloud.
And that's the one thing that I think a lot of people need to come to grips with, that process. Give me an idea, an overview of, say, a mid-sized company or meaning a small-sized company, maybe 100, 300 employees, that process to get from one end to the other. How do you start your way through the elephant on that?
Well, let's just start with email. That's the first thing that people want to migrate.
Right.
Okay. The process of migrating, I'll just say a 50-person office, and they have 10 to 20 gigabyte of mail per employee. That process could take 2 weeks, 3 weeks of continuous replication into the cloud just before you can get that cut over. Okay, and it's not always seamless either. There's a little bit of interruption, but it's still a process. Now that's a quick move. Okay, to take a whole data center, a whole business, and put it into the cloud, that's a period of months.
That's what I thought. It was like a 4-month process.
Yes, 6.
Oh, or 6. Do you want to jump in?
Oh, I was going to ask, is that a combination of a physical data migration as well as over the cloud? Because I know that both are important parts of a migration process.
Yes, that would be. What you want to do is you try to make it seamless. You don't want to interrupt your business. So in the meantime, what's happening behind the scenes while you're running your company and you're running your business, these migration efforts are running behind the scenes. So sometimes you're going to see double the cost because you've got 2 systems running while you're trying to consolidate into a single system in the cloud.
All right.
A lot of coordination.
There is.
We've got 1 minute left. Is there any major points that I should have hit that I may not have hit on your behalf, Jay?
No, I just like to say that we do focus, our areas of strength are really in pharmaceuticals and long-term care. Both of those have a distribution and manufacturing component to it, so we're familiar with manufacturing and distribution. But because we understand the regulatory requirements of both industries, from HIPAA to 21 CFR to good manufacturing practices to good laboratory practices, I think that that's where we would like to focus our efforts into those industries, okay, and help those small companies when they start up to show them that we've been there. We can actually help them get to where they want to go.
Got it. All right. And for our clients our customers and our listeners and our audience to reach out to, how do they reach you?
Yes, you can reach me at jay at presagesolutions.com. That's PRESAGE solutions.com, or at 817-439-3051.
Been a great guest. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.